How's it going, guys? JCVP11 here, and it looks like Sony and Lenovo have exchanged alphabets in terms of their flagship smartphones. What used to be the Xperia Z series is now the Xperia X series, and what used to be the Moto or Lenovo X series is now the Moto Z series. And before you say it's pronounced Z, it's not, and you're wrong. Motorola announced both the Moto Z and the Moto Z Force, and they're the best attempts at a flagship smartphone from the company in a while. They're both made with aircraft grade aluminium and stainless steel and pack a Snapdragon 820 processor, 4GB of RAM, which would mean performance is not an issue on the 5.5-inch Quad HD AMOLED display. But then what sets them apart from each other? Well, the Moto Z comes in at just 5.2mm thin and packs a 2600 mAh battery and a 13 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, and dual LED flash. It also has a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with a wide-angle lens, so you can capture as much detail as you want on that selfie of yours. The Z Force, on the other hand, is a tad bit thicker at 7mm, which would mean it's on par with this year's flagship smartphones, and packs a larger 3500 mAh battery and a better 21 megapixel camera with phase detection autofocus and an f1.8 aperture for better low light photography. The Force moniker on the Z Force also means that the screen will be shatterproof, but we'll only be able to put it to the test when the phones actually release, and more on that later. Differences aside, the phones also pack a fingerprint scanner on the front of the device, which arguably looks uglier than the back of the device, active display functionality on both screens, USB Type-C ports capable of very rapid charging, and wait for it, no headphone jack. Yup, Lenovo beat Apple to no headphone jacks, which means Apple won't be the first company to produce a smartphone without a headphone jack. But before you think that's a deal breaker, don't worry, because Lenovo will provide a USB Type-C to 3.5mm headphone jack adapter, which will come out of the box with either the Moto Z or the Moto Z Force. So props to you, Lenovo. And if you think that was it for the announcements, you're wrong. With the new phones, Motorola have also announced something called Moto Mods, which is a much more better and refined version of what LG tried to do with the LG G5 and its pets. There are various modular accessories that can snap onto either the Moto Z or the Moto Z Force using the pins at the back of the devices, as well as powerful magnets to hold these accessories in place. These include things like the JBL Sound Boost, which add dual speakers to the back of the device, as well as the extra 1000 mAh in terms of battery life, the Incipio Off-Grid Power Pack, which adds 2200 mAh to the already present battery life of both the Moto Z or the Moto Z Force, or my favorite, the InstaShare projector, which means you can project your phone screen onto a 70-inch canvas, of course at a lower resolution of 480p. This too adds an extra 1200 mAh to the battery. So with all of these accessories, you're not only getting extra features, but you're also getting extra battery life. Of course, there are also various other shells available that would only customize how the phone looks. So if you're not into all of these accessories, you could maybe buy a wooden shell to change the look of your phone. Phew, that was a big announcement. But the phones that Motorola have announced look like really good phones, but the only downside is the fact that they'll only be available sometime in September, and that they're Verizon exclusives in the USA or unlocked globally. I wonder why Lenovo didn't opt for the Snapdragon 823 chipset over the 820 chipset, because by the time the phones release in September, these will be classified as mid-range smartphones, because the newer Android smartphones, or the flagship ones at least, will most probably have the Snapdragon 823 chipset. But I think Lenovo did that to compete with flagships in terms of price point, and the 820 chipset isn't bad at all, so why not lower the price of their smartphones instead of going for a higher price tag and slightly better power. I think Motorola would have been better off with just one smartphone instead of two, and they could have easily combined both of these features in order to produce a much better smartphone, which would be much more compelling to the audience, because two smartphones are just gonna confuse the audience and they're just gonna be in a dilemma as to which one to buy. But that's up to Motorola or Lenovo, but that's just my opinion. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, adios.